Have you ever felt the quiet intensity of someone who loves you but doesn't say it out loud? The kind of love that doesn't announce itself with grand gestures or endless words, but exists in glances, in subtle acts, and in the invisible ways someone shows they care. You might wonder if it's real, if it's enough, or if it's just a fleeting feeling. But what if I told you that behind the walls, behind the distance, and behind the carefully maintained space, there is a love that is profound, steady, and genuine, especially when it comes from someone who seems avoidant? Many people mistake avoidance for indifference. They see withdrawal and assume the absence of affection. They interpret hesitation as a lack of love. But the truth is far more nuanced, far more extraordinary. The avoidance love is not loud. It is not demanding. It is quiet, deliberate, and patient. It is a love that thrives in subtlety and grows through trust, patience, and understanding. And while it may take time to recognize, once you do, you realize that it is not weaker or lesser. It is simply expressed differently, often more profoundly than words alone could convey. Today we will explore how this love reveals itself, how it perseveres despite fear, and how it can transform a relationship when seen with the right perspective. An avoidant person often gives the impression that they are distant, indifferent, or emotionally detached, but this exterior is rarely a true reflection of the depth of their feelings. Their love is like an underground river moving silently beneath the surface, hidden from immediate view but persistent and unwavering. To understand the love of an avoidant, one must first understand the nature of their walls. These walls are not built out of malice or lack of desire for connection. They are built from fear, past experiences, and the need to maintain a sense of autonomy. When an avoidant withdraws or seems aloof, it is often a protective measure, a way to regulate their own emotional intensity and maintain control over vulnerability that feels threatening. This withdrawal is not an absence of care. It is a form of self-preservation, and the love that exists behind these walls is both real and deeply felt. Observing them from the outside, it may seem that their heart is inaccessible, but the truth is that love exists in subtle ways, often invisible to the casual observer. They may not say, "I love you," frequently or overtly, but their attachment is expressed through quieter, less obvious signals. They remember the details of your life, the little things that matter to you, and integrate them into their own actions. They anticipate your needs, sometimes in ways you might not even notice, because their love is often expressed more through thoughtfulness and consideration than through grand declarations. These gestures, small though they may appear, are the language of their affection. A touch on your shoulder, the way they make space for you in their schedule, or the quiet consistency of their presence even when they seem distant. All of these are manifestations of a love that is real, intentional, and profound. Love for an avoidant is often intertwined with tension. Tension between the desire to connect deeply and the simultaneous fear of being overwhelmed or losing oneself in intimacy. Their love is a careful negotiation of space and closeness, an ongoing balancing act that allows them to feel safe while still caring deeply. When you begin to recognize this, you start to see that their love does not require constant affirmation or verbal acknowledgement. It exists in the patterns, in the routines, and in the choices they make, even when those choices are subtle. They may struggle to express their emotions openly because vulnerability has often been associated with danger or disappointment in their past, so their affection takes the form of protective gestures, acts of service, or careful listening. It is a love that values quality over quantity, depth over spectacle, and sincerity over performance. Understanding an avoidance love requires patience and attentiveness. It is not a love that demands to be seen loudly or dramatically. It is a love that waits, observes, and respects boundaries while maintaining an unwavering, if quiet, commitment. Their love is not absent when they withdraw. It is recalibrating, gathering strength, and seeking ways to express itself that align with their comfort and emotional resilience. To doubt this love is to mistake silence for absence, caution for indifference, and self-protection for lack of feeling. In reality, the love behind the walls is persistent, steadfast, and genuine, a force that endures even when it is not immediately visible. It is an intricate, delicate, and resilient form of love that may take time to recognize but is never less than sincere. Observing it requires a different lens, one that values subtlety, recognizes the courage it takes for an avoidant to love, and understands that their withdrawal is often a sign of deep emotional engagement rather than rejection. Their love exists quietly in the background, shaping actions, influencing decisions, and coloring interactions in ways that may not be obvious, yet remain powerful and transformative. For an avoidant person, love is rarely communicated through grand verbal declarations or overt emotional displays. Words, for them, are often fraught with risk. To speak openly about their feelings is to expose themselves to vulnerability, and vulnerability has historically been uncomfortable or even threatening. They may hesitate to say, "I love you," or to express affection in ways that seem conventional, not because their feelings are lacking, but because the act of verbalizing emotions can feel overwhelming, intrusive, or unnatural. Instead, their love is embedded in actions, small and deliberate, gestures that reveal a profound attention to your presence and needs without demanding anything in return. Observing these actions requires careful attention, for they are not always dramatic or obvious. They may show up consistently, even when circumstances make it inconvenient. They may remember the smallest details you mention in passing, like the way you take your coffee, the kind of music that lifts your spirits, or the specific way you prefer to spend your time when feeling low. Each of these observations is stored and later reflected in behavior that demonstrates care without requiring verbal confirmation. An avoidant may make sacrifices quietly, adjusting their schedule to be present when it matters, without announcing their efforts or seeking recognition. These choices reflect a conscious effort to prioritize your comfort and well-being, revealing the depth of their feelings through the very structure of their life. Acts of service, thoughtful consideration, and protective gestures become their language of love, their way of bridging the gap between intimacy and the safe boundaries they need to maintain. They may go out of their way to help you with practical matters, to anticipate challenges before they arise, or to offer support in moments of difficulty, all without needing to frame these acts as expressions of affection. In this way, their love is often subtle but immensely powerful, operating quietly in the background while shaping your experience of connection and support. Emotional presence for an avoidant can be easier to convey through doing rather than speaking. By showing up reliably, by keeping commitments, and by engaging in attentive listening without judgment, they demonstrate a devotion that words alone might fail to convey. Their love manifests in patience, in allowing space for you to express yourself freely, and in giving you the room to be yourself without imposing emotional expectations. Even when they pull back or seem distant, there is often a thread of care that persists, visible in small touches, in the effort to stay informed about your life, or in subtle ways they integrate you into their world. Recognizing love through actions rather than words requires a shift in perception, a willingness to see intention rather than reliance on verbal affirmation. It is a form of love that values substance over style, consistency over drama, and authenticity over performative gestures. The avoidant's care is often more reliable than their words because it emerges from a steady pattern of behavior rather than the emotional fluctuation that can accompany verbal expressions. When they act with thoughtfulness, when they anticipate your needs without being prompted, when they make sacrifices quietly, they are expressing a love that is enduring, patient, and profound. This love can sometimes be overlooked because it doesn't conform to conventional expectations or societal norms of emotional display, yet it carries an intensity and sincerity that words often cannot match. Understanding this requires trust in the reliability of their behavior, patience in observing their patterns, and an openness to interpreting gestures as expressions of deep affection. The avoidance love through action teaches that true care does not always demand acknowledgement or ceremony. It simply exists, quietly powerful, shaping the fabric of your shared experience in ways that are consistent, thoughtful, and enduring. By paying attention to these subtle cues, the small but consistent choices, the quiet attentiveness, the deliberate acts of support, you begin to recognize the language of an avoidance heart, a language that communicates devotion, loyalty, and attachment in a way that words alone cannot capture. Love in this context is less about what is said and more about what is done, and in observing these actions, one discovers the profound reality of an avoidance affection, a love that is steady, deliberate, and unwavering despite the absence of verbal declarations. For an avoidant person, love is inseparable from fear. This fear is not irrational or superficial. It is a complex, deeply ingrained response shaped by past experiences, early attachments, and the need to preserve emotional autonomy. When they feel love, it does not arrive without resistance. It arrives entwined with caution, vigilance, and an acute awareness of potential emotional danger. Vulnerability is both the doorway to connection and the trigger of their anxiety. To open up emotionally is to risk being overwhelmed, rejected, or losing a sense of control over their inner world. This means that even when they care deeply, their natural instinct is often to retreat, to maintain a buffer between their feelings and the possibility of emotional exposure. Love, for an avoidant, is not reckless or impulsive. It is deliberate, tempered by awareness, and negotiated constantly against the backdrop of fear. They may pull back just as intimacy begins to deepen, not because love has faded, but because the intensity of their own emotions threatens to engulf them, or because they fear that the closeness could compromise the stability they carefully maintain. This push and pull dynamic is not a sign of indifference, but rather a reflection of their inner struggle between longing and self-protection. Observing their behavior through this lens reveals that fear is a filter through which every interaction passes. An avoidant may show love cautiously, choosing moments when their sense of safety is strong enough to allow it, or expressing affection in ways that feel controllable and measured. This often results in a paradoxical pattern. At times, they seem distant or cold, while at other times they exhibit intense care and attention. Both reactions stem from the same emotional truth. Love is present, but it is always intertwined with the constant negotiation of fear. Vulnerability, then, is not absent. It is present but constrained, revealed only in glimpses, small openings that require patience and understanding to notice. These glimpses may manifest as brief admissions of concern, subtle acts of care, or moments when they let down their guard long enough to prioritize your needs over their instinct to protect themselves. Recognizing these moments requires sensitivity because they are often fleeting and carefully calibrated. An avoidance fear is also relational, meaning it responds to how safe they feel with the person they love. If they perceive a partner as judgmental, demanding, or intrusive, the fear intensifies and withdrawal becomes more pronounced. If they sense acceptance, understanding, and respect for their boundaries, they are more likely to reveal layers of their emotional self, though always gradually. This interplay of love and fear creates a unique intensity. The love they feel is genuine, yet it is shadowed by the protective measures they instinctively take. The dynamic is often misinterpreted by others as ambivalence or lack of commitment, when in reality, the avoidant's love is both real and profound, just expressed through a lens shaped by caution and self-preservation. Understanding an avoidant's fear requires empathy, not judgment. It requires seeing that every act of retreat is not a rejection of the beloved, but a management of internal anxiety that could otherwise become overwhelming. Their love is courageous precisely because it exists in the face of fear. Every step toward intimacy is a deliberate choice to risk discomfort for connection. This perspective shifts the focus from measuring love by overt emotional expression to recognizing the resilience it takes for an avoidant to love at all. Love and fear coexist in a delicate balance. One cannot be fully understood without acknowledging the other. When an avoidant expresses concern, prioritizes your well-being, or shows quiet attentiveness, it is often done against the internal resistance of their own apprehensions. When they allow closeness, they are navigating an intricate internal landscape, carefully negotiating how much of themselves to reveal and when. Their fear does not negate love. Rather, it is an inseparable companion to it, shaping the way love is expressed, the pace at which it grows, and the forms it takes. Recognizing this, one begins to understand that what might appear as hesitation, distance, or unpredictability is actually a manifestation of love's cautious and conscientious presence. A love that persists even when it is measured and guarded, and a love that carries with it the silent courage of vulnerability managed with care and precision. An avoidant person's love often manifests in ways that are not immediately visible because it is filtered through their natural tendency toward emotional restraint and their need to preserve autonomy. While many people equate love with constant verbal affirmation or overt displays of affection, an avoidant experiences and expresses love differently, and this is where the intensity in silence becomes most apparent. Their love does not need to be loud to be profound. It exists in the quiet spaces between words, in the subtle gestures that reveal thoughtfulness and attentiveness without overwhelming the other person. An avoidant may observe you more closely than anyone realizes, taking note of your moods, your preferences, your subtle expressions of joy or discomfort. They remember these details not for manipulation or control, but because they care and wish to respond in ways that matter to you. This attentiveness creates a powerful, almost invisible connection, a love that is not performative but deeply personal. Even when they are not physically present, their thoughts may revolve around your well-being, your happiness, and the ways in which they can make your life easier or more meaningful. The silence in which their love exists is not emptiness. It is a space filled with intention, with unspoken care that can feel profound once it is noticed. Avoidants often avoid overwhelming others with words or declarations because they understand the fragility of intimacy and the potential for emotional intensity to feel suffocating. Instead, they channel their feelings into actions that may seem small or understated, but carry enormous significance. A glance held a moment longer than usual, a remembered preference, a gesture of consideration at precisely the right time. All of these are expressions of love communicated without words, demonstrating that their feelings are present, deliberate, and enduring. In fact, their silence can make their presence feel even more potent because it is intentional rather than reactive. When an avoidant chooses to engage, when they reach out, or when they make an effort to connect despite their natural inclination toward withdrawal, it is a deliberate expression of love, measured against the internal resistance that often urges them to remain distant. Their intensity in silence is also apparent in the consistency of their attention over time. Unlike fleeting expressions of emotion, their quiet gestures are often patterns that reveal a deep and ongoing investment in the relationship. Whether it is showing up when it matters, remembering small but significant details, or maintaining a steady presence even when words are sparse, their love persists and communicates itself in ways that are reliable, deliberate, and meaningful. To the untrained eye, it may appear that nothing is happening, that they are detached or indifferent, but this surface perception misses the subtle but powerful ways their affection is embedded in daily life. Their love is not performative or dependent on recognition. It exists quietly, often without expectation of acknowledgement or reciprocation, which makes it both selfless and intense. The intensity in silence is also tied to the avoidant's inner emotional life. They often experience emotions deeply, but they are cautious about revealing them directly because of fear of vulnerability or being overwhelmed by intimacy. This means that every subtle act of care, every measured effort to show concern, is weighted with emotional significance. It is an intentional expression of love in a form they can safely sustain without compromising their sense of self or triggering anxiety. In relationships with avoidance, recognizing this intensity requires a shift in perspective, an openness to seeing love not as a matter of volume or drama, but as the careful calibration of attention, presence, and thoughtfulness. Their silence is not absence. It is a medium through which love moves with a deliberate, measured force. By observing patterns, noticing thoughtful gestures, and appreciating the depth that exists beneath minimal expression, one begins to understand the profound nature of their affection. The love that exists in silence is resilient, patient, and persistent, capable of sustaining connection over time, even when the conventional markers of romance seem absent. It teaches that love does not always need to be loud to be real. That quiet attention and careful consideration can carry more emotional weight than the most elaborate declarations, and that the intensity of an avoidance love often lies precisely in the space where words are scarce, but care is abundant. An avoidant person's love is not static. It evolves and deepens over time, often in response to trust, patience, and consistent connection. While they may initially appear emotionally distant or reserved, their capacity for attachment grows as they experience a relationship that feels safe and non-intrusive. Growth through connection is a process rather than an instant revelation, and it is one of the most profound expressions of their affection. For an avoidant, emotional intimacy can feel overwhelming or threatening, especially in situations where vulnerability has previously led to disappointment, rejection, or feeling consumed by another person's needs. When they encounter a partner who respects their boundaries, honors their independence, and allows them to engage at their own pace, they begin to lower the defenses that were once rigidly maintained. This gradual lowering of walls is a form of love in itself, because it represents the conscious choice to trust, to risk closeness, and to integrate another person into their inner world. Every small act of engagement, every moment they allow themselves to be seen or to share their thoughts and feelings, is a demonstration of growth, a signal that their affection is becoming more accessible and that their love is deepening. The avoidance growth through connection is often subtle and incremental. It may appear as a willingness to stay longer on the phone than usual, to respond with more openness when asked about their emotions, or to initiate contact in ways that previously felt uncomfortable. These shifts may be gradual, almost imperceptible, but they reflect a significant internal transformation, the recognition that intimacy does not have to threaten their autonomy, that connection can coexist with personal boundaries, and that vulnerability, when met with respect, can be experienced safely. This growth is also evident in the way they increasingly prioritize the relationship alongside their own needs. Initially, an avoidant may fear that closeness will be suffocating, but over time, the experience of consistent, non-demanding support teaches them that love can be sustaining rather than consuming. They begin to show care not only through subtle actions, but also by gradually engaging in emotional expression, offering reassurance, and taking steps to bridge the gap between their internal world and the shared experience of the relationship. The process requires patience from both parties, because the avoidant's comfort with intimacy develops in response to evidence that vulnerability is safe. Each instance of shared laughter, deep conversation, or attentive listening reinforces their willingness to participate more fully in the emotional landscape of the partnership. As they experience this growth, their love often becomes more integrated, consistent, and visible. It is no longer limited to fleeting gestures or moments of intense but contained affection. Instead, it extends into a broader pattern of thoughtfulness, attentiveness, and deliberate engagement. The avoidant begins to take greater emotional risks, share their perspectives more openly, and respond to the needs of their partner in ways that reflect both affection and a growing sense of trust. Growth through connection also highlights the transformative power of patience, understanding, and mutual respect. When an avoidant feels that their space is honored, their feelings are acknowledged, and their autonomy is respected, they are more likely to reciprocate with openness, care, and genuine attachment. Their love evolves from cautious observation into active participation, and in this process, both partners experience a deepening of intimacy that is built on authenticity rather than forced emotional performance. This evolution demonstrates that love, for an avoidant, is not an all-or-nothing experience, but a continuum. It is a love that begins quietly, grows in measured steps, and becomes increasingly expressive as trust strengthens. The moments of connection, no matter how small, accumulate over time, creating a foundation of shared understanding, emotional safety, and mutual respect. In witnessing this growth, one sees that an avoidant's love is not diminished by initial distance or hesitation. Rather, it is strengthened by the careful cultivation of trust, patience, and connection. Each incremental opening of the heart, each act of engagement, and each moment of shared vulnerability is a testament to the depth and sincerity of their feelings, and it reflects a love that is dynamic, resilient, and capable of profound intimacy. The process of growth through connection illustrates that an avoidant's affection is not fixed, but can flourish when nurtured with awareness, patience, and respect, revealing a love that evolves, deepens, and becomes increasingly accessible over time. The love of an avoidant is not always visible in the ways society expects, but that does not make it any less real or meaningful. It is a love that exists behind carefully built walls, expressed through quiet actions rather than constant words, tempered by fear yet courageous in its persistence, and revealed in moments of subtle intensity that demand patience and attention to notice. This love grows over time, nurtured by trust, respect, and connection, proving that depth and commitment do not always require loud declarations. To recognize it is to see beyond appearances, to honor the courage it takes for someone to love while guarding their vulnerability, and to appreciate the profound care that is often hidden in silence. When you understand this, doubt loses its hold, and you can embrace the truth that their love is unwavering, sincere, and enduring, even when it doesn't conform to conventional expectations.